The declaration of war in 1914 was greeted with hysteria. Many were convinced that it would finally unite Edwardian Britain, that it would transform ordinary young men into heroes, and that it would finally confirm Britain's unrivaled supremacy over the world. And one young artist was certain it would make him a star. Like Bomberg and Wyndham Lewis, Richard Nevinson had trained at the Slade. But unlike them, he had little natural talent, knocking out second-rate paintings that aped the avant-garde. Here he is, posing proudly in front of a painting he called Tum Tiddly Tum Pom Pom. The title says it all. But Nevinson's mediocre prospects would change one evening when he was lured to the theatre to witness an unorthodox performance by London's most infamous celebrity, a maverick Italian by the name of Filippo Tommaso Marinetti.
Marinetti was a poser, an adrenaline junkie, and a veritable grand master of the silly idea. He had, for instance, proposed burning down all the world's museums, sinking the whole city of Venice, and he thought that nothing was more fun than a good old-fashioned car crash.
But in this performance, Marinetti reached a new low. Marinetti loved war, and he declared his love in an experimental sound poem that was supposed to give the public an authentic taste of the battlefield.
The public's reaction was divided. Divided between disgust, horror, hatred, terror, and outrage.
But Nevinson was entranced. He too dreamed of battle, of glory, of heroism, and on a wave of patriotism, Nevinson enlisted. But he would be sorely disappointed. In 1914, he arrived in France, but was immediately deemed too weak to fight. So he spent his days as a medical orderly, pottering about on the lonely lanes of Flanders, far away from the front line. Though you wouldn't have thought it from his tales of derring-do.
Nevinson told one story that in the middle of a Zeppelin raid, he got the wheels of his ambulance caught in a railway track as a train hurtled towards him and flames billowed around him, and he only escaped at the very last second. And on another occasion, the Germans apparently fired a shell directly at him, but it miraculously passed through a little hole in his ambulance and he emerged unhurt. And on another occasion, he was, for some reason, up in a hot air balloon, and an enemy aeroplane shot the air balloon down. The balloon was plummeting towards the ground, but once again, Nevinson escaped. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't believe a word of it.
After just 10 uneventful weeks, Nevinson made his way quietly home. But back in Britain, he was greeted as a real war hero. So he busied himself making pictures that showed a hero's view of modern war. Pictures that would guarantee him public acclaim. And here, in the heart of the West End, Nevinson bagged his very own one-man show. Nevinson's exhibition was a sensation.
Everyone who was anyone was there. Royalty, aristocracy, army generals, famous painters, famous writers, and no less than 4 past, present and future prime ministers. And when they were all assembled together inside the gallery, Nevinson made his entrance with a limp, a walking stick, and in full army uniform.
Nevinson revelled in his newfound glory, but the adulation was deserved. Though he'd never seen a moment of combat, he had managed to capture the essence of modern war. He'd discovered a formula. Art that was geometrical and modern, yet easy to understand. Art that could be appreciated by the connoisseur and layman alike. Here, a battalion march in unison up to the front line. Troops rest after the rigours of battle. And an aeroplane swoops down from the clouds. But the public's favourite painting was called La Mitrailleuse.
Most viewers thought this was not just Nevinson's best work to date, it was the greatest painting of the whole conflict. Walter Sickert even called it the most authoritative utterance on war in the history of painting. Now, clearly it's a powerful and uncompromising image of war, and not just any war. This is modern war. You can see a group of French machine gunners here. They're in a dugout, they're surrounded by barbed wire. One of them has been killed already. This one's panicking over the dead body, and these two are firing blindly into the distance. Now, this isn't a war of cavalry charges and heroism and flying flags. This is a war in which scared men fight clumsily for their lives, and for no apparent reason. And that's what people admired about this picture. They admired it for telling them an inconvenient and unpleasant truth about what was happening across the Channel. And they trusted it too, because Nevinson was a soldier. Nevinson had been there, and Nevinson had seen this firsthand in the trenches. But we know that wasn't true. Nevinson had never stepped foot inside a trench, and Nevinson actually painted this on his honeymoon.